Ever get a gift as a kid that made you cringe? Like, socks when you wanted that awesome video game.
Ah, the classic holiday gift-giving fails.
Yeah, well, this deep dive request takes those awkward moments to a whole new level.
Ah, how so?
Imagine you're 8 years old, it's Christmas morning, you're all excited, and you get coal.
A hole, like a lump of
A
coal.
lump of coal. But here's the kicker, is from the kid's uncle.
Okay, that is interesting. So is this like a gag gift or?
Not exactly. It's meant to be a playful reprimand for a tantrum the nephew threw the Christmas before.
So not just coal, but coal with a message. This is definitely deep dive worthy.
Oh, absolutely. Is this harmless holiday fun or, like, scarring for the kid? Where's the line with humor, especially when it comes to kids and lessons?
So many questions. Let's start by setting the scene.
Okay, picture this. It's Christmas morning, right? Like Hallmark movie vibes, decorations everywhere, tons of presents, everyone's happy, except...
Except there's this memory of the nephew's meltdown last year.
Exactly. Like a shadow over the whole thing. I mean, the sources say the uncle really put thought into this Lego set for the kid, only to have it completely rejected.
Ouch. Yeah, I could see how that would sting. Feels like a gift-giving fail.
Big time. So fast forward a year, the uncle's thinking about that memory, and he decides to tap into this tradition from his German heritage, Krampus.
Krampus. I've heard of that, but I'm a little fuzzy on the details.
Basically, he's like the anti-Santa, punishes naughty kids.
Yeah.
And guess what? The grandfather's in on the joke.
Hmm.
But the nephew, not laughing.
So how does the kid react?
Tears. Total meltdown. Withdraws from everything. That line between a lighthearted prank and emotional harm is getting blurry.
Yeah, you can see where things could go wrong there. What about the rest of the family?
Oh, it's a mess. The father is furious, accuses the uncle of public shaming. Mom's not happy either, but she's quiet about it. And the grandfather, he thinks the whole thing is hilarious.
Wow, talk about a divided family. What one person thinks is funny, another sees as hurtful. It really makes you wonder, should the parents have stepped in more with their son's tantrum last year?
Right. Did that lack of action maybe give the uncle the idea for this whole thing?
That's an interesting point. So where are we going with this? What's the core of our deep dive here?
We're trying to figure out if using humor or traditions like Krampus to teach kids is okay. Or is this just an adult being petty? Could it really mess a kid up? Where's the line?
Big questions. Was the coal a harmless prank or actually harmful? And there's the bigger picture, too. What about the parents' role in all of this? And, how much responsibility does the gift giver have to be appropriate?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Krampus for a minute. It's not exactly the warm and fuzzy Christmas we're used to, right?
No, not exactly. More like a creepy Christmas tale.
Right. Instead of Santa with presents, you've got this, well, menacing figure.
Yeah, menacing is putting it mildly. Horns, fangs, hairy beast. Sounds more like a horror movie.
Exactly. And that's Krampus. Comes from Alpine folklore. His whole thing is to punish kids who've been naughty.
So the opposite of Santa's nice list. Like the naughty list enforcer.
You got it. He's all about consequences. A pretty stark contrast to Santa's generosity.
So the uncle's using this tradition to make a point about the nephew's past behavior. Maybe even hoping to, prevent future tantrums.
It seems like that was the idea. But was it the right approach? That's what we have to figure out. We need to think about the cultural context of Krampus.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, in some places he's a familiar figure, but his methods, pretty harsh, even if it's supposed to be playful.
Exactly. I mean, it's one thing to hear stories about Krampus, but to actually get a punishment from him, even a symbolic one, especially on Christmas, that's got to feel different.
It's like taking the fun out of the holiday.
Yeah, right. So this brings up a question. Was the uncle really trying to teach a lesson? Or was this more about his own frustration?
You think so? Like, maybe the coal was less about the nephew and more about the uncle's hurt feelings from last year?
Possibly. And that circles back to the parents, right? Were they too easy on their son? Should they have stepped in more and maybe stopped this whole thing from happening?
Well, it's easy to say that parents should have done things differently, but parenting is tough. Every family's got their own way of doing things.
True, there's no one right way to parent. But it shows how important it is to talk openly in families. If the uncle had just told the parents or even the nephew himself that he was upset, maybe things would have gone differently.
So instead of this Krampus thing, which maybe no one really understood, a simple conversation could have been better.
Exactly. They could have talked about it, the uncle's hurt feelings and all, without making a scene and embarrassing the kid.
This makes me think, is there ever a good way to use humor or tradition to discipline a kid? Or is it always kind of risky?
It's a tough one. Humor can be great for teaching and connecting, but you have to be careful, especially with kids. When it's used to, like, air your own grievances or push your values on someone, it's not funny anymore. It can actually hurt.
So in this case, the uncle's Krampus thing was probably crossing the line. Less about teaching and more about taking out his frustration on the kid.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. It's important to think about the other person's point of view, especially with kids who might not get the joke or the tradition.
Okay, so we've looked at what happened, talked about Krampus, and the whole family dynamic. What's the takeaway for our listeners? How
Yeah.
can they apply this to their own lives?
Okay, so we've spent all this time digging into this family's holiday drama, right? We've talked about Krampus and even how humor can be used to teach or not.
Yeah, lots to unpack there. But now let's think about what it means for everyone listening.
Right, because this isn't just about one weird Christmas. It makes you wonder about all those jokes and traditions we take for granted.
Exactly. Like, could we be hurting people's feelings without realizing it?
Yeah.
Are we doing things that maybe aren't okay for everyone?
It makes you stop and think about your own family's holiday traditions, doesn't it?
It does. Like, are they actually fun for everyone?
Mhm.
Or are there some things that maybe need to change? It's easy to get so caught up in the holidays that we forget how our actions affect others.
Especially kids. Yeah, kids are still learning about the world, right? They don't always see things the way adults do. What might be a funny prank to us could actually upset a kid.
You know, this reminds me of one Christmas when I got a gift that I really didn't like.
Oh, no.
I tried to be polite, but I'm sure I wasn't very good at hiding my disappointment. Now that I'm older, I realize how much I probably hurt the person who gave it to me.
Aw, that's tough. But it just shows how even little things can have a big impact, especially in families. And the holidays can sometimes make those things even more intense.
So what are some things our listeners can take away from all this? What can they actually do to make sure their holidays are happy for everyone?
Well, I think communication is super important. If someone does something that hurts you, even if they didn't mean to, it's good to talk about it.
But like in a nice way, right?
Right. It's about understanding each other, not about starting a fight. Especially during the holidays, it's a time to be close to people, not hold grudges.
And if you're the one who messed up, you need to be ready to listen and admit you were wrong.
Exactly. Sometimes a simple apology can make a big difference.
I think it's important to remember that kids are always watching us. If we show them how to talk to each other with respect and understanding, they'll learn to do the same.
Absolutely. So, as the holidays get closer, let's all try to be more thoughtful about the traditions we keep, the gifts we give, and the things we say to each other.
Let's make sure our celebrations are full of real joy and connection.
That's what it's all about, right? We've really gotten into the weeds with this family and their Krampus situation, and it's shown how complicated things can get. But hopefully everyone listening has learned something they can use in their own lives to make the holidays a little bit brighter for everyone